Oh, it's kind of weird filming in this room. Hello, welcome back to the Surplus Boys channel. Nick here, obviously, in a different spot. This is actually my pew room, and I wanted to talk to you today about accuracy, I guess, in a way, and more or less accuracy with Carcanos and whatnot in barrel life. Barrel life is kind of a weird topic, more or less in the form of if you listen to specifications, especially for target shooters, things like that, barrel life on a gun could be very short in technicality, but it's really extremely long. They'll say for a certain rifle, say like 6.5 Creedmoor, which is a whatever cartridge to me, they'll say it's like 2,000, 3,000 rounds, and then the barrel life is done, which really doesn't make sense. That is when the barrel starts to get to the point where you're not pinpoint accuracy, like needle point accuracy. That's when you start to slightly lose that. That's usually what they mean by barrel life. So, for example, to kind of kill the misnomer that Carcanos are inaccurate and whatnot, one thing that does happen to them is their barrels are used. They're World War I firearms, World War II firearms, so they do see action, especially the ones you get from Royal Tiger. They come from Ethiopia. Ethiopians, they used the things they were able to capture a good amount. So, for example, here I got my 1915 dated Carcano long rifle. Nothing in there, obviously. So, I've said this on the channel before. This gun has a terrible bore. It is awful. It is just mush. It's like a sewer pipe. Rifling is extreme. There's no solidness to the rifling whatsoever. It's all just mush and crap, and this is not pretty. I'm going to try to put a picture of the actual bore. It's probably going to be terrible on this thing, but it's not good. I'll give it that. It's terrible. The outside of the rifle looks nice, but the inside of the bore is terrible. So, the barrel life on Carcanos, specified at least in a resource which I've mentioned this book before, the Modelo 1891 Carcano rifle. It says the barrel life on all Carcanos were set to 4,000 or so rounds. And in consideration, especially back then when they were designing this, when smokeless powder and jacketed rounds were being used, that's actually pretty good, especially considering the caliber of this cartridge. You see, with the smaller the actual bullet is, the harder it is on the bore for erosion and stuff like that. So let's say if you have something that's an 8mm comparatively to the 6.5, an 8mm barrel will actually outlast in sort of rounds than something that's in 6.5. Usually most 6.5 rounds are a little bit weaker than 8mm or anything bigger than that. So you get into that realm where there's a lot of variables and whatnot. So I'm gonna try not to babble too much. But yeah, so let's say if I were to have an 8mm or 6.5 at the exact same velocity, the 8mm will last, barrel life will last longer than the 6.5 because you're trying to push that much pressure and that much flame through a tinier hole, so that actually provides more heat, more friction, and stuff like that. So that's one thing why the Carcano barrels actually have a deeper rifling than most military rifles, considering. So that was the one way they were able to extend the barrel life on these. So same thing with like black powder rounds. Black powder is more of an explosion than a actual propellant, but most of those are 45 caliber and up, or 40 caliber and up. And usually any rifles I get that are of the black powder era and whatnot, the bores on them are usually pretty good. So long as they were maintained, that they cleaned the actual bore out. If nobody in the past cleaned the bore, then it's going to be a sewer pipe as well. But in most cases, when people actually clean the powder fouling out and whatnot, most of my black powder bores are pretty nice considering how old they are. But the smokeless ones are the opposite. They're actually pretty terrible. So off of that high horse on that. So one thing to show you, I have a slug here so I just took literally a 36 caliber round ball. I rolled it down. It's very hard to see that probably. I rolled it down so that it would fit in this bore. I pushed it through with a bronze rod through the muzzle. Just getting it through there is kind of a pain. And this is mic'd out at 271, 272 almost. And that's at the tightest point of the bore, which is not, continually the same exact depth in this entire bore. The tightest point of the bore, I think, is right here in this rifle. So kind of initially pushing it through, it's tight. It gets really tight. And once you get past a point, it just kind of... So that doesn't... that's not good. That show you that this bore is not great. But, the original bullet that's supposed to go in here is a 268 or something like that. And most Carcano rounds you get are 264 right now. So that does kind of bode for the accuracy of these things. When people get them, they're like, oh, it doesn't shoot straight. Because you're using the wrong ammo. It's been said a million times before. But just kind of tell you about barrel life. Considering what the bore looks like, the thing's been shot a lot. But you can still get accuracy out of it. I have properly sized bullets for this that are a little bit heavier. I think they're like 239 grain or something like that. Maybe a little lighter, I don't remember. But it's the correct size round. It's actually a 268 instead of a 264. Usually these like heavier bullets, but with the other bullets I have, since they're correctly sized, shooting it through this rifle, I think it was about like 1900 feet per second I was getting out of my kind of offshoot loading I did. Because load data for this is a little, not hard to find, but it's, kind of picky. But I was able to get relatively good accuracy out at 100 yards. Before that, I would always get zingers here and there. Sometimes I get things flinging left and right. I even have a, what do you call it? You saw in the, you guys seen in the Carcano video, I'm not hitting anything.
Oh. Well, the thing I hit, I was actually aiming probably about 3 feet to the right, so this just goes to show how bad the bore is on this guy. Oh, that one was right on, though.
They're flying left or flying right. They're going wherever they want. I do have the target here, and I'm going to kind of put this up over my face. It's probably at 100 yards for something with that terrible of a bore. I'm probably in a 6-inch group. Out of total, the main bulk of it, this is out of 10 rounds, the main bulk of it is easily within probably 3.5 inches. There's about 3 zingers that kind of flew off, a little high, a little low, but the main bulk of the group is in pretty much a 3.5-inch circle. That's out of 7 rounds, pretty much. At 100 yards for something that is over 100 something years old, that has a terrible bore, that goes to show how, not crappy these rifles are. They actually do the job even when they're completely beaten up. You just got to stick the right pills in it, and they'll work fine. You'll be able to. It's literally it's one of those man-sized targets. You'll see it. It's hitting in the neck area. Me pointing directly at like the stomach from 100 yards. So, and these are always prone to shooting high, just how the sights are set up. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on barrel life and Carcano accuracy. So if you don't have accuracy out of it, you're just doing it wrong, or you're not trying hard enough. It takes a little bit of effort, but that's with every single surplus gun you're going to come across. It takes a little bit more effort to get things the way you want it. If you want a gun that you just put rounds in it and it's accurate every time, don't buy a Carcano. Sometimes you get lucky, but most of the time you gotta try a little bit to get it nice and shooting correctly again. And gladly, and at least nowadays, there's actual companies that are making ammunition for this that are correctly sized and correctly gassed. And yeah, I mean, I've never used any of them, but I'm usually just reload my own stuff. But yeah, so I'm gonna leave it at that. Keep this a short video, but yeah, that's what I think about Carcanos and their barrel life. So like, comment, subscribe. If I had Patrick here,
turn on the bell.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for a little bit of your time bringing me into my pew room. Bye-bye.